Welcome to Your Family's Health, the program that focuses on healthcare issues with unique and different modalities for taking charge of your health today. Experts talk weekly with our continuing roster of guests from around the country and right here in Nassau County to keep you up to date on the latest health issues and trends. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. Spend the next half hour with the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and get on the journey to better health.
Hello and welcome to Your Family's Health. My name is Dr. Janine Cook-Garrard from the Nursing Department here at Nassau Community College. My guest today, Matthew Kinslow, is a substitute teacher, popular influencer, author, and juggler with more than 1.1 million Instagram followers. He also has autism spectrum disorder, but he hasn't let the diagnosis hold him back. Matthew's new book, Unstoppable: How One Person with Autism is Never Giving Up on His Lifelong Dream to Become a Teacher and Worldwide Influencer. He's sharing his powerful true story to encourage others to pursue their goals and to spread an important message about acceptance. Matthew, welcome to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you for having me.
So this is a topic that is very interesting. So can you define for us what autism is?
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disability, and it kind of affects of how the mind works. And we have our common struggles from concentration to eye contact to a whole list of things. I kind of like to view it as a different ability to live life.
I like that definition. So when were you diagnosed with autism?
Yeah, I was formally diagnosed about the age of 6 in circa 2001.
I would imagine that your parents took you to your primary physician. How was that diagnosis made, and what were some of the things your parents saw that stood out in you?
Back when I was 3, I wasn't speaking as properly, and the administrator to my mom's work told her about it. So I was diagnosed with a speech delay, took the preschool intervention program, and then 3 years of special day class, in the middle of which is when I got the diagnosis of autism.
So we know that autism is called the spectrum because there are so many different symptoms and, as you said, effects of autism. So what are the challenges that you currently face from autism? I'm hearing that you're very articulate, you're doing your dream. So what are some of your challenges currently?
Some of the challenges include, it's hard to concentrate. It's hard to shut my mind off when it's supposed to, whether I'm reading, doing homework, as a student, taking tests, trying to go to sleep at night. There's struggles for me because I'm thinking of things, even irrelevant things that happened 5, 10, 20 years ago, wondering what's going to happen next week, trying to get all my answers correct. Also, I had the speech delay, but speech therapy helped me throughout school. We're typically shy. I have made hundreds of friends by the time I graduated high school, but it was always hard for me to put my foot forward and ask if I could hang out with them. And by late high school, I got a bit better. And then I also had my share of being teased for having autism from kindergarten to the present day.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm hearing that you juggle and play the piano.
Yes, since elementary school.
What are some of the pieces you play on the piano? Is it classic or what genre?
Mainly hymns, patriotic and Christmas songs, Christmas carols. Very
nice. And has that helped you?
It has a lot. Piano playing has become a catharsis. It's like a way to escape,
Yeah, your pastimes. Do you have any other pastimes?
Just juggling. Juggling was my other catharsis, and I always liked learning,
That's
especially
great.
math.
Oh, math. Awesome. I'm not a math person, but that's great. So what were some of the things in school, college that helped you to succeed? So you went through high school, and then after that, did you have any education after high school? What was your experience there?
Yes. Throughout elementary, middle, and high school, I had speech therapy, and I had RSP, and that stands for Resource Specialist Program. Mm-hmm. And it was like a place to go to, and other students with usually learning disabilities or just need extra time. It was a place to have extra help and a more quiet place. By the time I entered college, so after high school, I went to Orange Coast College, after which I went to Vanguard University of Southern California, and they had a disability students program there So for me personally, they gave me extra time on tests and tutoring and such.
That's awesome. I'm hearing that you are an author, and your first book is called Juggling the Issues. What brought you to write a book?
I always loved writing since probably first grade, give or take a year.
Okay.
And I felt that I was always destined to write something. And after high school, I started to write for like the 100th time in my life. But I'm telling myself, if I start this project, I'm going to finish it this time. And so years later, and a very, very long story short, I got my first book published called Juggling the Issues, and it's telling my story through autism, what it's like, the pros and the cons, and the organizations that helped me.
That's really very nice that you got that accomplished. So how big of a deal is that to be an author of your book? And how cathartic was that in getting your thoughts in a book and published? How do you think that impacted the autism spectrum and the world with this book that you published?
It was quite a catharsis for me because I had all these things in my heart and my mind, and I was able to release it at the same time, knowing in my heart that this might encourage other people.
Yeah. So I understand that you were hesitant to go on social media. How has that been?
Yeah. The hesitancy was due to a couple of things, but in 2017, that was actually a time in my life where I felt very, very, very sad, like just wondering if there's anything I could do to contribute while I'm waiting to get my first book published. My first book didn't get published till 2019. And so in 2017, so many things were going on, but I just decided to post one thing on YouTube. It was a piano playing video. And from there, I started to post so many things, and I've been posting things ever since: autism awareness videos, piano videos, and such. So my hope was that it would encourage people.
So I'm hearing you have a lot of followers.
Yeah, after several years on YouTube, I just passed 83,000 subscribers.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And so what do you do on the social media? Are you just playing your instrument, or are you having a conversation about your experience with autism?
My summary, if I were to summarize my social media, is autism awareness and acceptance. But I have videos talking about autism and my firsthand experience. I have videos about my adventures as a substitute teacher. I chronicled my journey through student teaching as well. And then the other videos that I post, from piano playing to hobbies of mine, like airplanes and aircraft and such, and fire engines, those are to serve or to show my special interests. Like these are just special interests. And I just want to share with whoever wants to watch them.
That's great. So how did you decide to write your second book now, Unstoppable? And how does that differ from your first? Yeah,
well, it's related in that it talks about a person with autism. But toward the end of my student teaching in 2022, I was reflecting on my entire journey through the process. And being a student teacher, getting a teaching credential is really rigorous, but then there are extra challenges because of having autism. But I persevered through it, and I achieved the dream, and I thought it would help other people.
That's fantastic. So what made you want to become a teacher?
That also started back when I was around first grade, give or take.
Wow, that first grade was powerful for you.
Yeah. I remember I would go home and I would pretend to be the teacher, play school with my stuffed animals and all that. And I would emulate what the teacher would do. And then in fourth grade and sixth grade, I won it's like a fundraiser, and I became teacher for a day.
Oh, very
so
nice.
That gave me some experience.
You're listening to Your Family's Health on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Janine Cook-Garrard, and my guest today is Matthew Kinslow. He is a substitute teacher, popular influencer, author, and juggler who has autism spectrum disorder, but he has not let that diagnosis hold him back. Matthew's new book, Unstoppable: How One Person with Autism is Never Giving Up on His Lifelong Dream to Become a Teacher and a Worldwide Influencer. He shares his powerful story. So, Matthew, I'm hearing that you are a teacher, student teacher, right? So how is that, you think, preparing you with someone that has autism? Do you find any challenges or bumps in the road teaching, or do you find that that is really helping you with what you want to do in teaching?
Yes, back in 2022, I was a student teacher, and I achieved the dream that I had the whole time. And now I'm a substitute teacher currently, and both of which really helped me, equipped me for being in the classroom and being able to manage a class. And another thing that I see in that is perhaps this could encourage other people. Like, I have autism, and pretty much almost all the students know that, and I'm not shy from it. And students have asked me about my autism and wanted to know more about it. And I just want to share that disability or not, anyone can do whatever they set their heart to mind to do, including being a teacher if they want.
So what grades is it that you teach?
I did my student teaching in middle school math. They were eighth graders, but as a substitute teacher, I usually go between third grade and eighth grade, sometimes high school.
So how are the students? Are they very receptive, and the parents and everyone in the community in your school? How have you been received?
About 98%, 99% of the students, parents, faculty, staff have been accepting toward me. So that's kind of a positive for me. I'm very thankful. And students say hi to me, like even outside of school, like when I'm around the neighborhood, walking around or something. They say hi. And one time I ran into a parent at the Target, and she told me that last year you subbed for my sixth grader, and she has autism too.
Wow.
But because of me being there a couple of times to sub for her class, she now is empowered to pursue her passions.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's good to see you in that position so that students who are sitting at the desk can see that it is possible. I think that's great. So can you say that there are any common things that would be myths about autism that the main populace holds and say, this person can't or this person has to? Are there myths that you have experienced in dealing with the public?
Yeah, here's a couple that I like to dispel. One says that people with autism can't feel emotions, but I, for one, can empathize, which means like I could feel what they're going through. But it's always hard for me to express or sympathize from the outside, and so people might think I might not care, but I do. In fact, I just don't know how to express it. Some people say that we hate socializing, but I could say that it may not be that we're antisocial. I, for one, always longed to hang out with my friends outside of school. And it was just hard for me because I was nervous. It felt like this invisible block of nervousness between me and other people. Some people say that that autistics lack intelligence, but I say that's not true. I mean, me personally, I got a couple of science degrees, chemistry, biochemistry, and full math teaching credential and such. And there's a lot of intelligent people who are on the spectrum. And other people say that we don't have a sense of humor, but I got the most sense of humor in class certificate in fifth grade.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So there are these myths. You are here to dispel all of them. And does that depend upon the individual in how they cope or how they are on the spectrum and how they are emotionally and socially, intellectually? Doesn't it not depend on where they are on the spectrum?
I think it would depend on where they are, because once you meet one person with autism, you only met that one person. And I say the disclaimer that, I am speaking from my perspective, and I'm open to know that not everyone could relate to everything that I'm saying. And so that's why I'm hoping that a lot of people, if they feel ready to voice, their perspectives too, so that we could just have more awareness and understanding.
What do you think about classifying autism as a disability? And what would you say would be good advice for those who have disabilities?
Well, the definition is that it's a disability. I like to call it as a different ability to live life. I believe that autism has given me a different lens with which to view the world.
Yeah, I like that.
But it does come with its struggles, its limitations that you have to learn to go through and not around. So I guess by definition, it's it's a disability that comes with its challenges.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said. What did you say? Not a disability, but what did you say?
A different ability to live life.
A different ability to live life. I like the way you said that. So I know in the classroom settings, things can get, I remember my high school setting, it can be quite interesting when it comes down to noise and, what goes on in the classroom. It could be loud and maybe food fights or something that's really ruckus. How do you handle those type of classroom settings that are atypical at times?
I haven't witnessed a food fight, but I would understand. Yet you never know. But there are times when it felt like sensory overload. But I felt, I'm strong enough for it, and I could handle it, and to the best of my ability. So I just do my best. There have been times where I had to really be firm, which is kind of a bit out of my comfort zone. But I know it has to be done, and there were just a couple of times in the past 2 years, I just, I had to call admin and have them help me out. And so we both worked together and help get the class more in order.
Mm-hmm. So that's great. Now, I'm glad you never experienced the food fights. That's something that I don't think you need to experience. So how do you communicate with parents? And I know that there are times where you have to communicate with them. And maybe the student after class, or maybe there's a disciplinary issue going on. How do you best communicate with them?
There have been a couple of times when I would have to communicate with parents, whether I'm like teaching or whether I'm like a Royal Rangers commander. Royal Rangers is like Boy Scouts. And I'd have to talk to parents just rarely, but sometimes. I would just communicate with what I've seen, what I've observed, and just explain this is what happened. Overall, when I am here to encourage other people about autism, I would just say, don't allow the label of autism to define you or to stop you in what you want to do in life.
That's great. Your teaching methods in the classroom, what have you found that you have really honed in on your method of teaching? I know it depends on the students learning, but what has been your method of teaching?
In the credential program in student teaching, we learned so many different strategies, and I've implemented strategies. And then when I was observing my mentor teacher, I was taking mental notes and writing down notes and trying my best to emulate that and then find out what works for me. And then on the side, I kind of became known as the best sub of Newport Mesa by a lot of students because I say, okay, if you could give me this time or give time for you guys to do this project or this Chromebook activity, then I could do a trick toward the end. So I pull out like a card trick or juggling.
Oh, that's good.
So,
do you have any students who are on the spectrum or have autism currently in your classroom?
There have been throughout student teaching, substitute teaching, and I've noticed that.
Can you tell us any heartwarming stories that you have experienced in the classroom?
Yeah, let's see.
And they don't have to be all heartwarming. They could be just real stories.
Yeah. Well, there was one. I was subbing a third grade class, and there's a student. Instead of going out to her second recess, she stayed inside like almost the entire time just to talk to me about what I'm doing. And she knows I have autism, and she knows that I've written a book about it. I'm going across the world talking about it virtually. And she said that it was very brave of me for doing that. And she was relating that to Martin Luther King Jr. And because of Martin Luther King Jr., she has a friendship with a person who is of a different color. And now they're friends, and they probably wouldn't be friends without Dr. King. And so she was kind of relating that with me and autism.
That is awesome. You are listening to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Janine Cook-Garrard, and my guest today is Matthew Kinslow, is a substitute teacher, popular influencer, author, and juggler, who also has autism spectrum disorder, but he has not let the diagnosis hold him back. Matthew's new book, Unstoppable, How One Person with Autism is Never Giving Up on His Lifelong Dream to Become a Teacher and Worldwide Influencer. He shares this powerful story. So I'm hearing you have gone across the world to showcase your book. Where have you been?
Honestly, virtually, I've been in other places.
Okay.
I was on radio throughout Canada, the Caribbean, specifically the Virgin Islands, and then in Spain, an English speaking radio station in Spain, and then some magazines and other media in UK and Ireland.
That's nice. So you really have really been able to spread this message. So what advice would you give to other teachers? I know there are other teachers who may have autism that are inspired by you to get into this career. What would you give them as advice to how to either start in the teaching field or to even think about continuing or even, starting out with dealing with some of their, I would say, challenges?
Communication, I'd say, is key. And if you're thinking about getting into student teaching, communicate with the program at the college that you're thinking about attending and just express you want to teach. And then the counselors should help direct you toward that. And then when you get into the classroom, learning how to be a teacher and then doing the student teaching, what I found is that communication is key. Talk to the mentor teacher or the teacher that you're going to shadow. And you may want to explain to her or him of, some of the challenges that you might have, that you might face at the get-go. I kind of found that out throughout student teaching. And I wish I could have done it when I first met her, but, my mentor teacher is amazing, and she really helped me pursue this dream of mine. And then I know that I could understand that student teaching getting credential is tough, but I powered through it, and I believed in myself, and sometimes it just takes longer for me to achieve it. And you might have late days or late nights, but never give up as long as it's your passion.
So your substitute teaching, is that for special education classroom settings or all classroom settings?
It's mostly all classroom settings.
Okay. Now, you must have had very supportive parents. Is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say for parents who may have a child with learning needs or is on spectrum disorder?
I say that in the beginning, advocate for the child, show care and support for the child, that helping the child know that you're on their side and advocate for them. And then when they get a little bit older in life, I would recommend teaching them how to advocate for themselves, as well as life skills. For example, my mother taught me how to balance a checkbook, how to do some driving, how to cook and such. So I'm very
you a cook
thankful.
too? Wow.
Not really. I mean, not much, but just a little here and there. I mean,
okay.
She's more the chef of the family.
Okay.
But,
do you have any siblings?
No.
Okay. So you're the only child.
Yeah.
Or adult, I would say. So how do you balance your needs with the demands of teaching? Once you leave the classroom, how do you balance those things?
I just, after the day, I just come home and do, some of the things that I need to do outside of that. I'm currently free with my education because I just got a master's last week.
Wow.
So I don't have a master's in education, and I don't have any plans for a doctorate, but that
go, Matthew, go.
Yeah. But that took a lot of work, and now I have more time.
Now, when you was going through or pursuing your master's degree, did you have a lot of substitute help or tutoring, or were you able to independently go through the program?
I was able to independently go through, and our professor was extraordinarily amazing and gave prompt feedback, and we were able to talk to her at any time, and she helped us greatly.
So with colleges, do you find that the college setting, I know that the formidable educational places like high school, middle schools, they have the resources there. Did you find that in the college setting that they were just as resourceful for individuals with spectrum disorder?
I say that they have the resources, they have the disability services.
Mm-hmm.
I took advantage of that for extra test taking time.
And what did you find with the educators yourself who taught you throughout, whether it was middle school, whether it was high school, whether it was college? What were their best attributes that helped teach you sitting at the desk?
I'd say like all my teachers from kindergarten to the present day were amazing, supportive. And there were a couple that really stood out to me. And one of them was my U.S. history teacher in 11th grade. And he taught me wisdom and patience. And he allowed me to teach his son about a president because I like the presidents, and his son was in 2nd grade. And at the end, I said, boy, I learned a lot more than I did about this president. And he said, you learned a very valuable lesson in teaching that you learn in the process, because as teachers, we're still learning in the process.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Matthew. I think I'm going to take that forward. So what is the one thing you want to leave with us when it comes down to your book, Unstoppable?
My number one hope is that it be an encouragement to aspiring teachers or any profession, disability or not. It doesn't have to be autism, and that it would just also be an exciting adventure, because in my book, I've talked about so many things that the world threw at me, so many things that the life threw at me, but I persevered and stuck through it despite all that.
That's wonderful. And where can we find this great book?
My book, Unstoppable, could be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or it could be ordered at any library or bookstore. On the internet, I would put in the search bar, Unstoppable Matthew Kenslow, because there's a lot of Unstoppables that would come up, but that's where you can find it.
That is awesome. And so let me ask you this. When it comes down to maybe one word that you want to give us, or maybe one or two words that you want to give us about a person who has persevered through with this particular spectrum disorder, what would you say?
I would, again, say don't allow the label of autism to have the right to tear you down or to stop you in what you want to do in life. I believe you could do whatever you set your heart and mind to do, as long as it's practical. I encourage my volunteer assemblies to be number one. So don't set standards based on other people, but base them upon your own self. Like, don't try to be people that you're not, and never give up on what you want to do and who you want to be in life.
Well said. Well, thank you for being here, Matthew Kenslow, a substitute teacher, popular influencer, author, and juggler who also has spectrum disorder. Matthew's new book is titled Unstoppable: How One Person with Autism is Never Giving Up on His Lifelong Dream to Become a Teacher and a Worldwide Influencer. We want to thank you for giving us this important information and being an example of hope. And we hope you stay healthy and continue to do the great work and write that third book for us. This is Dr. Janine Cookerard from the Nursing Department here at Nassau Community College, and we want to thank you for listening to this week's edition of Your Family's Health.
We'd like to get your feedback on your family's health. Send your comments by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu. Podcasts of today's show are available on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This program was produced at the studios of Nassau Community College in cooperation with the Nursing Department. Join us next week for another edition of Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.